Hey guys, welcome to the film room. A great question I've been asked recently is why don't teams just switch every ball screen in Euroleague? Because there are so many clips and highlights that are all over the internet of guys coming off ball screens and trying to hedge and getting dunked on like this, or guards are able to just turn the corner and throw short rolls. You can even see guards getting straight downhill and getting easy layups, and the worst thing is when teams try and hedge and you got someone who can pick and pop and they get these wide open threes. So why not just switch every ball screen to get rid of those? The answer to that is in this video. Anytime you switch ball screens, it creates mismatches. And not just one mismatch, but two. On the perimeter, you have a speed mismatch because the big is trying to defend a guard. And in the post, you have a size mismatch because you have a guard trying to defend a bigger post player. Now, it's important to note that in high school or even at the college level, sometimes these mismatches aren't very significant, but in Euroleague, they are huge. So if you watch a lot of these games and pay attention, every time there's a switch in these ball screens, you're going to have this mismatch down here in the post, and you're going to have this mismatch up at the top of the key, and you're going to see how offenses expose this all the time. We're going to start with speed mismatches, and I want you to see how intentional these players are at getting these switches and taking advantage. So on this catch, you can see the guard is telling this big to get to the corner because he doesn't want him to come set a screen. He wants this big to come set a screen because he wants this mismatch right here. So they attempt to get this switch on the ball screen and they find a way to avoid it. So he comes and sets it again. There's your switch. Here's your blow by, and it's an easy layup. Now you might be thinking there's no way it's that easy. And you're right. There's a lot that goes into this. Anytime that there's a switch, guards are looking for what's called double gaps, which is where you want extra space to be able to beat your man off the bounce. And as soon as they know they have that mismatch they like, they're going to attack that double gap. So you'll see in these next few clips that as soon as that switch happens, the guard finds where the space or the double gap is, and they attack straight downhill trying to get to the rim. Now these double gaps can be anywhere. It can be baseline, it can be middle, but when these guards see this switch, their eyes light up and they try and get right downhill. Because this speed mismatch is so significant, they know they can score. Now the other defenders aren't just going to sit back and watch their bigs get exposed, are they? Of course not. So what you'll notice is when these switches happen, these gap defenders are going to try and get into the gap and discourage dribble penetration, and this is where the chess match begins. Let's break this down. There's your switch, here's your mismatch, and here's your gap defender trying to discourage the drive. So this guard is going to slide, Clyburn's going to attack that gap, force the stunt, kick it, and you get a rhythm three. But what this video is really going to highlight is how elite these Euroleague guards are at hitting shots off the bounce that are contested. As soon as Nick Weiler-Babb gets this switch, there are gap defenders sitting on both sides because they know he wants to drive. But what Babb knows is this defender doesn't want to get beat off the bounce, so he's typically going to be low in a stance with his hands down, and he knows that he can get to this step back three. And these decisions are so calculated. Here he's got 7 seconds left in the clock, he gets the switch that he wants, gets to his spot, step back three, bang. And what some big defenders will do to try and avoid this is they will actually crowd the ball handler to force him to get downhill. But again, they're so afraid of getting beat that as soon as that guard drives, they sprint to cut him off and they're still getting hit with step backs. And this is league-wide. If you watch any team in Euroleague, almost every one of their guards do the exact same thing. And the move that they all use is what's referred to as a drift dribble. As Alexa gets this switch, he's going to get into this drift move right here where he's almost skipping to the side, and every single one of these guards gets to this position when they make their decision. And they use this move so that they have an extra second to read their defender. So as Nigel goes into this drift, all he's doing is reading his defender's body language. He's low in a stance, on his heels with his hands down, so he knows he can go into this pull-up and it's not going to be contested. And in this clip, you'll get to see the difference. So Kendrick Nunn gets the switch that he wants, and as he goes into this drift dribble, His defender is more standing straight up, almost like he wants to get ready to contest, so he breaks him down and beats him off the bounce. Now, I saw something that I've never seen before and absolutely love it. So in the United States, typically when you get this switch, you'll give it up and then get it right back so you can go one-on-one, and we refer to that as a boomerang. But what they do here is they actually drive the gap right at the big defender, and then they wheel behind or shake behind and pitch it back, and it leads to a wide open three. This is unbelievably smart. Now, these speed mismatches don't always lead to the guard shooting the ball. A lot of times it just leads to the defense being forced to help. So on this switch, the guard gets straight downhill, it forces all this help in the paint, and it leads to this kick-out rhythm three. The way I look at it is almost like a domino effect. As soon as this switch happens, that leads to the speed mismatch, which leads to this guard getting downhill, and that forces this extra help defender, which leads to the kick out. Now you have confusion of who's supposed to take the ball and who's supposed to rotate, and it ends up being a rhythm jumper. So now we'll talk about the size mismatch. As soon as this step-up ball screen is set, there is your mismatch because they're going to switch. So the guard ends up taking the ball all the way over to the other side, clears out the corner man so that the ball can go into the post, and here's your mismatch. Even though he misses his first shot, he's so much bigger than his matchup now that he gets the rebound and gets to the free throw line. So in the same way that guards are looking for these double gaps, when the ball goes into the post on a mismatch, everybody tries to get out of the way so that the big can go one-on-one and have all the space that he wants and needs so that he can take advantage of that mismatch. And the other area where you can take advantage of this mismatch is just off leverage alone. So on this screen, the guard tries to get in front, and now you have this leverage mismatch with a smaller defender, so the big just throws it over the top for an easy layup. And because teams are so good in ball screens, they recognize all of these coverages so quickly. As soon as the switch happens, you can see the guard looking down to the post. He sees that the guard's trying to front, so he just throws it over the top because he knows he'll win that jumping contest, and as soon as the help comes, he dishes it off. And in the same way that with these speed mismatches, it forces defenses to help, the same thing happens when you get these switches on the bigs. He's looking to throw it in because he's got this advantage. He doesn't feel like he has a great angle, so he throws it, gets it back, and here comes a double team, which means now there's an advantage, and this defender has to guard two. He tries to take away the cutter, and it leaves open a wide open three. And these chess matches are happening all throughout the game. On this step-up ball screen, he recognizes that the guy guarding him is actually smaller than the guy who's guarding Ricky Rubio, so instead of letting them get the switch, he just dives to the post. He tells Parker to flash out to the wing to be an entry guy, and he posts up the smaller defender. So now that he's got the mismatch, he scans the court to see if he should score or kick it out if there's help. So as soon as he starts to dribble it, the defense collapses, and there's your kick out three. So as we get closer to the Final Four, I want you to pay attention and see if you can recognize these switches in real time. Thanks for coming through. We'll see you next time in the film room.